The clock on the kitchen wall showed 2:17 a.m. when she finally made her decision. 3 years. 3 long years of walking on eggshells, of measuring every word, of jumping at every sound. Tonight was different. Tonight, something inside her had finally snapped. Her name was Anna, and she was 28 years old. Once upon a time, she had been a kindergarten teacher who loved reading stories to children and watching their faces light up with wonder. Now she barely recognized the woman staring back at her from the bathroom mirror. Dark circles under her eyes told the story of countless sleepless nights. Her once bright smile had faded into a careful, guarded expression. The house felt like a prison. It sat alone on 15 acres of land, miles away from the nearest neighbor. No cell phone towers reached this far out. The landline had been disconnected months ago after her husband claimed they couldn't afford it. But Anna knew the real reason. He wanted to cut her off from the outside world completely. Earlier that evening, everything had seemed normal. Well, as normal as things could be in their house. She had cooked dinner, cleaned the dishes, and tried to stay invisible while he drank beer after beer in front of the television. The storm outside was getting worse, with rain hitting the windows like angry fists. Then the old rotary phone in. The hallway had rung. The one phone line he had kept for emergencies. Her heart had jumped. Nobody ever called anymore. He had made sure of that, driving away her friends one by one with his jealous accusations and angry outbursts. She had watched from the kitchen doorway as he answered, his voice growing louder and more aggressive with each word. When he slammed the phone down, his face was red with rage. "That was your little sister," he had said, his voice dangerously quiet. "Seems she's been asking questions around town about you, wondering why nobody's seen you in months." Anna's blood had turned cold. Katie was only 19, just starting college. She was the only family Anna had left after their parents died in a car accident 5 years ago. Anna had been protecting Katie by staying away, not wanting her sister to see what her life had become. "I told her you were sick," he continued, moving closer. "Told her you didn't want visitors, but she's stubborn, isn't she? Says she's driving up here tomorrow whether you like it or not." The threat in his voice was clear. Anna knew what he was capable of when his anger turned violent. The thought of him hurting Katie was unbearable. Her little sister was everything that was good and bright in the world. Anna couldn't let that darkness touch her. "She won't come," Anna had whispered. "I'll call her. I'll tell her not to." "Oh, you'll tell her all right," he had said with a cruel smile. "You'll tell her exactly what I want you to tell her. And if she shows up here anyway, well, accidents happen on these country roads, especially in weather like this." That's when Anna knew she couldn't wait anymore. She had been planning to leave for months, hiding away small amounts of money whenever she could. $47. That's all she had managed to save. It wasn't much, but it would have to be enough. Now, as the house shook with thunder and her husband's snores echoed from the bedroom, Anna moved like a ghost through the rooms she had once tried to call home. She couldn't take much. A change of clothes would be too risky. He was a light sleeper when he wasn't drinking, and even drunk, he had an alarming ability to sense when she moved around at night. She pulled on her rain jacket, the one with the broken zipper that never kept her properly dry. Her hands shook as she tied her shoes, the $47 folded carefully inside her left sock. Every sound seemed impossibly loud. The creak of the floorboard near the door, the scrape of the window latch as she worked it open. The kitchen window was her only option. The front and back doors were too close to the bedroom, and both had squeaky hinges that would wake him for sure. The window was small and high off the ground, but she was determined. As she climbed through the opening, her jacket caught on the latch, tearing a long rip down the back. The cold rain immediately soaked through the tear, but she didn't care. For the first time in 3 years, she was choosing her own path. The ground was muddy and slippery. She fell twice before she even reached the fence that marked the edge of their property. Her jeans were soaked through, and her thin jacket offered no protection against the wind that seemed determined to push her back toward the house. But she kept walking, one foot in front of the other, following the fence line that she hoped would lead her to the main road. Behind her, the house grew smaller and smaller until it disappeared completely into the darkness. She had no plan beyond getting away. No destination except anywhere but here. The nearest town was 12 miles away. She had walked that distance before, back when she was allowed to have a car, back when she was allowed to have a life. The rain made everything harder. She couldn't see more than a few feet ahead, and the mud made every step treacherous. Several times she stumbled into potholes hidden by the darkness, water rushing over the tops of her shoes. Her mind raced with fears. What if he woke up and found her gone? What if he came looking for her in his truck? What if she got lost in the storm and froze to death before morning? What if Katie really did try to visit tomorrow and walked into his rage? But underneath all those fears was something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Tiny and fragile, but real. With every step away from that house, she felt a little more like the person she used to be. The person who had dreams and plans and a future that belonged to her. The fence seemed to go on forever. Her legs ached, and her lungs burned from the cold air. Just when she thought she couldn't take another step, she saw something that made her heart leap. Light. Two small points of light moving through the darkness. A car. Someone was driving on the road up ahead. Anna started to run, stumbling and sliding through the mud. She had to reach the road before the car passed by. This might be her only chance. In weather like this, it could be hours before another vehicle came along. She reached the fence that bordered the main road just as the headlights swept past her location. For a terrible moment, she thought the car would keep going. Then she saw the brake lights flash red in the darkness. The car was slowing down. Stopping, Anna's legs gave out and she collapsed against the fence post, gasping for breath. After 3 years of imprisonment, someone had seen her. Someone had stopped. She didn't know who was in that car. She didn't know if they would help her or hurt her. But as the driver's door opened and a figure stepped out into the storm, Anna felt something she thought she had lost forever. She felt saved. Tom had been driving these country roads for 15 years, and he had never seen a storm quite like this one. The rain was coming down so hard that his windshield wipers couldn't keep up, even on their fastest setting. Lightning lit up the sky, every few seconds followed by thunder that seemed to shake his old pickup truck. He was on his way back from the north pasture, where he had spent the evening checking on the cattle. As the foreman of the Double Creek Ranch, it was his job to make sure all the animals were safe during severe weather. The cows had been huddled together under the big oak trees, waiting out the storm like they always did. Tom was 34 years old, and he had been working ranches since he was 16. It was honest work that he loved, even on nights like this when the weather made everything 10 times harder. There was something peaceful about taking care of animals and land, something that suited his quiet nature. He was thinking about getting home to his small cabin behind the main ranch house when his headlights caught something strange. At first, he thought it might be a deer or a calf that had wandered away from the herd. But as he got closer, he realized it was a person. A woman was collapsed against a fence post, soaked to the bone and shivering uncontrollably. Even through the rain and darkness, Tom could see that she was in serious trouble. He immediately pulled over and grabbed his emergency flashlight from the glove compartment. His boots splashed through puddles as he jogged toward the fence, his heart racing with concern. "Ma'am, are you okay?" he called out, trying not to startle her. Anna looked up at him with eyes full of terror and hope. She tried to speak, but her teeth were chattering so hard that no words came out. She was shaking from head to toe, and her lips had a blue tint that told Tom she was dangerously cold. "It's all right," Tom said gently, keeping his voice calm and reassuring. "I'm here to help. Can you stand up?" Anna nodded and tried to get to her feet, but her legs wouldn't support her weight. Without hesitation, Tom climbed over the fence and carefully helped her up, supporting most of her weight with his strong arms. "My truck's right here," he said. "Let's get you out of this rain." Anna was too exhausted and cold to be afraid. Something about this stranger's voice made her feel safe for the first time in years. He moved slowly and carefully, never grabbing or forcing her to move faster than she could manage. Tom opened the passenger door and helped Anna climb into the warm cab of his truck. He immediately took off his thick work jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. The jacket was dry and warm and smelled like hay and sunshine. "You're safe," he whispered, and something in his voice made Anna believe him completely. Tom cranked up the heater and grabbed a thermos of coffee from behind his seat. "This will help warm you up," he said, pouring the hot liquid into the thermos cap and offering it to her with steady hands. Anna wrapped her cold fingers around the warm cup and took a small sip. The coffee was strong and sweet, and it felt like life flowing back into her frozen body. "What's your name?" Tom asked gently. "Anna," she managed to whisper. "I'm Tom. Tom Johnson. I work at the Double Creek Ranch just up the road. Are you hurt? Do you need me to take you to a hospital?" Anna shook her head quickly. The last thing she wanted was to end up somewhere official where there would be questions and paperwork and phone calls. She wasn't ready for any of that yet. "Okay," Tom said, accepting her answer without pushing for more information. "How about we get you somewhere warm and dry? My boss, Mrs. Helen Rodriguez, lives in the main ranch house. She's good people. She'll know how to help you." Anna nodded, still not trusting her voice to work properly. Tom put the truck in gear and drove slowly down the road, being extra careful not to hit any deep puddles that might splash up and scare her. The Double Creek Ranch appeared through the storm like something out of a dream. Warm yellow light glowed from the windows of a large farmhouse, and even through the rain, Anna could see flower gardens and a white picket fence that spoke of care and love. Tom parked as close to the front porch as possible and ran around to help Anna out of the truck. Together, they hurried through the rain to the covered porch, where Tom knocked gently on the front door. The door opened almost immediately, revealing a woman in her 60s with silver hair and kind eyes. She was wearing a thick robe and slippers, but she didn't seem surprised to have visitors in the middle of the night during a storm. "Tom? What on earth?" Mrs. Rodriguez started to say, then stopped when she saw Anna. Her expression immediately changed to one of motherly concern. "Found her on the road," Tom said simply. "She needs help." Mrs. Rodriguez stepped aside and ushered them both into her warm, cozy living room. A fire was crackling in the stone fireplace, and the whole house smelled like cinnamon and comfort. "Oh, honey," Mrs. Rodriguez said, looking at Anna's soaked clothes and exhausted face. "You look like you've been through a war. Let's get you taken care of." Without asking any questions about how Anna had ended up walking alone in a storm at 3 a.m, Mrs. Rodriguez went straight into action. She disappeared upstairs and came back with an armload of soft, warm clothes. "These should fit you," she said kindly. "The bathroom is right down that hall. Take a hot shower and put these on. Tom and I will make you something to eat." Anna looked back and forth between these two strangers who were treating her with more kindness than she had experienced in years. "I don't have any money," she whispered. "Honey," Mrs. Rodriguez said with a gentle smile, "kindness doesn't cost anything. Now go get warmed up. Everything else can wait until morning." As Anna walked toward the bathroom, she heard Mrs. Rodriguez talking quietly to Tom in the kitchen. She couldn't make out the words, but the tone was caring and concerned, not angry or suspicious or demanding answers. The hot shower felt like a miracle. Anna stood under the steaming water until her skin turned pink and her muscles began to relax. When she finally stepped out and looked in the bathroom mirror, she saw something she hadn't seen in 3 years. She saw hope in her own eyes. The clothes Mrs. Rodriguez had given her were soft and comfortable. Warm pajamas, thick socks, and a fuzzy robe that wrapped around her like a hug. When she came back to the living room, she found a bowl of hot soup waiting for her on the coffee table, along with fresh bread and a cup of tea. "Chicken noodle," Mrs. Rodriguez said with a smile. "Best medicine in the world for whatever's troubling you." Anna ate slowly, savoring every spoonful. It had been so long since someone had cooked for her with love instead of obligation. Tom sat quietly in a chair across from her, not staring or asking questions, just being a calm, reassuring presence. When Anna finished eating, Mrs. Rodriguez showed her to a small guest bedroom upstairs. The room was decorated with quilts and family photos, and it felt like the safest place Anna had ever been. "Sleep as long as you need to," Mrs. Rodriguez said, pulling the covers up to Anna's chin like she was tucking in a child. "Tomorrow we'll figure out whatever needs figuring out. Tonight, you just rest." As Anna drifted off to sleep in the softest bed she had felt in years, she could hear the storm beginning to quiet outside. For the first time in 3 years, she wasn't afraid of tomorrow. She was free. Anna woke up to the sound of birds singing outside her window. For a moment, she couldn't remember where she was. The bed was too soft, the room too bright, the air too peaceful. Then everything came flooding back. The storm, the escape, Tom, finding her on the road, Mrs. Rodriguez's kindness. She sat up slowly, her body sore from her midnight journey through the rain. Sunlight was streaming through white curtains, and she could smell bacon cooking downstairs. When she looked at the clock on the nightstand, she was shocked to see it was almost noon. A soft knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. "Anna, honey, are you awake?" Mrs. Rodriguez's voice was gentle and patient. "Yes, ma'am," Anna called back. "I've got some clothes that might fit you better than those pajamas, and breakfast is ready whenever you are." Anna found a neat stack of clothes outside her door. Jeans that looked like they would fit perfectly, a soft blue sweater, and even underwear and socks still in their packages. Everything was in her exact size, which seemed impossible. When she came downstairs, she found Mrs. Rodriguez in the kitchen, humming while she flipped pancakes. The older woman turned and smiled when she saw Anna. "You look much better this morning," she said warmly. "Sleep helps everything, doesn't it?" "How did you know my size?" Anna asked, still amazed by the thoughtfulness. Mrs. Rodriguez chuckled. 40 years of buying clothes for my daughters and granddaughters. You develop an eye for these things. Sit down, honey. You must be starving." The breakfast was incredible. Fluffy pancakes, crispy bacon, fresh orange juice, and coffee that actually tasted good instead of bitter and burned. Anna ate slowly, still not quite believing this was real. "Where's Tom?" she asked. "Oh, he's out checking the fences from last night's storm. He'll be back for lunch. That boy works harder than anyone I've ever known." Mrs. Rodriguez sat down across from Anna with her own cup of coffee. "Now, I don't want to pry, but is there anyone you need to call? Anyone who might be worried about you?" Anna's stomach tightened. The only person who might be looking for her was the last person she wanted to find her. "No, ma'am. There's no one." Mrs. Rodriguez nodded like she understood more than Anna was saying. "Well, you're welcome to stay here as long as you need. We've got plenty of room, and I could use some help around the house if you're interested in earning a little money." "I don't want to be any trouble," Anna said quickly. "Honey, you're not trouble. You're a blessing. This old house gets mighty quiet with just me rattling around in it." For the next few weeks, Anna fell into a routine that felt like heaven compared to her old life. She helped Mrs. Rodriguez with cooking and cleaning, tended the vegetable garden, and even helped feed the chickens. Every task was chosen freely, done with purpose, and appreciated by someone who said thank you instead of criticism. Tom was a constant, quiet presence around the ranch. He never asked about her past or made her feel uncomfortable. Instead, he included her in small ways that made her feel useful and valued. He taught her how to fix a fence post, showed her which plants in the garden needed the most water, and always made sure she felt safe when she was working outside. "You're a natural with the animals," he told her one afternoon as she helped him move the cattle to a new pasture. "Most people are afraid of the bulls, but you're calm around them." Anna smiled, feeling proud of herself for the first time in years. "I used to help my grandfather on his farm when I was little. I forgot how much I missed it." Tom nodded, not pushing for more details about her childhood or why she had forgotten. That was one of the things she appreciated most about him. He accepted her exactly as she was right now, without demanding explanations for her past. Mrs. Rodriguez was equally careful about not prying, but she offered wisdom in small doses. One evening, as they washed dishes together, she said casually, "You know, there's a counselor in town who helps women who've been through difficult times. Her name is Dr. Patricia Williams, and she's helped more people than you can count." Anna's hand stilled on the plate she was drying. "I'm not ready for that yet." "I know, honey. Just wanted you to know the option was there when you are ready." But their peaceful existence was shattered on a Tuesday morning in November. Anna was hanging laundry on the line behind the house when Tom came jogging up from the main road, his face grim with concern. "Anna, we need to talk," he said, looking around to make sure they were alone. "What's wrong?" she asked, immediately, worried. "There was a man in town yesterday asking questions about you. Showed your picture to the clerk at the grocery store, the gas station attendant, and the waitress at the diner. Said he was your husband and that you were sick and had wandered away from home." Anna's blood turned to ice. The clothespin she was holding fell to the ground. "What did they tell him?" "Nothing, as far as I know. Folks around here don't much like strangers asking personal questions. But Anna, if he's looking this hard, he's not going to give up." Anna sank down onto the back porch steps, her legs suddenly too weak to hold her up. She had known this day would come, but she had hoped for more time to get stronger, to figure out what to do next, to maybe save enough money to disappear properly. "I have to leave," she said quietly. "I can't put you and Mrs. Rodriguez in danger." Tom sat down beside her, careful to leave space between them. "What if there was another way?" "There isn't. You don't understand what he's like, what he's capable of." "Then help me understand," Tom said gently. "Maybe we can figure something out together." For the first time since her escape, Anna told someone the whole truth. She told Tom about the isolation, the threats, the way her husband had slowly taken away every piece of her independence until she felt like she was disappearing. She told him about the fear that lived in her chest every day, the way she had learned to anticipate his moods and adjust her behavior to avoid his anger. Tom listened without interrupting, his jaw getting tighter with every detail. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "Anna," he said finally, "what would you say if I told you there might be a way to make sure he could never hurt you again?" "I'd say you don't know him like I do." "Maybe not, but I know the law, and I know people in this town who won't stand for someone hurting women. More importantly, I know something about you that maybe you don't know yet." "What's that?" Tom turned to look at her directly, his eyes serious and kind. "You're stronger than you think. You survived 3 years of hell and you were brave enough to walk away. That takes more courage than most people have." Anna felt tears starting to form, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of something she was afraid to name. "He'll never stop looking," she whispered. "Then maybe it's time to stop running," Tom said. "Maybe it's time to stand and fight." That evening, Mrs. Rodriguez called Dr. Williams and made an appointment for Anna. It was time to start building a case, time to stop being a victim and start being a survivor. But as Anna lay in bed that night, she couldn't shake the feeling that her peaceful days at the ranch were numbered. Her husband had found her trail, and she knew him well enough to know that he wouldn't give up easily. The question was whether she could find the strength to fight back before he found her. Dr. Patricia Williams had been counseling survivors of domestic violence for over 20 years, and she could spot the signs immediately. Anna sat in the corner chair of her office, as far from the door as possible, her arms wrapped protectively around herself. Every few minutes, her eyes would dart to the window, checking for escape routes. "You're safe here," Dr. Williams said gently. "This office is completely confidential, and my secretary knows not to give out any information about my clients." Over the course of 3 sessions, Anna slowly began to open up about her marriage. Dr. Williams helped her understand that the isolation, the financial control, and the threats weren't her fault. They were tactics used by abusers to maintain power and control. "What you experienced has a name," Dr. Williams explained during their 3rd meeting. "It's called coercive control, and it's a pattern of behavior designed to make you feel helpless and dependent. The fact that you recognized it and escaped shows incredible strength." "But I stayed for 3 years," Anna said, her voice filled with self-doubt. "Why didn't I leave sooner?" "Because leaving is the most dangerous time for someone in an abusive relationship. Statistically, that's when violence escalates. Your instincts kept you alive, Anna. And when you saw a threat to your sister, you found the courage to act. That's not weakness. That's love." Meanwhile, Tom was struggling with feelings he hadn't expected. Over the past month, he had watched Anna transformed from a frightened, broken woman into someone who laughed while feeding the chickens and hummed while working in the garden. Her smile when it appeared was like sunshine after a storm. He had never been married, never even been in a serious relationship. His work on the ranch had always been enough for him. But something about Anna's quiet strength and gentle nature made him think about the future differently. The problem was timing. Anna was still healing from trauma, still dealing with the threat of her husband finding her. The last thing she needed was pressure from another man, even one who cared about her. Mrs. Rodriguez, who had been watching both Tom and Anna with the wisdom of someone who had raised 5 children, finally decided to speak up. "Tom," she said one evening as they sat on the front porch after dinner, "you're going to wear a hole in those boards if you keep pacing like that." "I'm not pacing," Tom protested, even though he had been walking back and forth for the past 10 minutes. "You're in love with her." It wasn't a question. Tom stopped walking and looked at Mrs. Rodriguez, who was rocking gently in her chair with a knowing smile. "It's complicated," he said finally. "Love usually is. But that doesn't make it wrong. She's been through hell, Helen. The last thing she needs is me adding pressure to her life. Have you considered that maybe what she needs is to know that not all men are like her husband?" Tom sat down heavily on the porch swing. "What if I'm moving too fast? What if I scare her away? What if you don't try and spend the rest of your life wondering what might have been?" The next morning, Tom's worst fears were realized. Sheriff Dave Martinez arrived at the ranch with news that made everyone's blood run cold. "He's hired a private investigator," the sheriff told them as they gathered in Mrs. Rodriguez's living room. "Professional guy from the city. He's been showing Anna's picture around 3 counties offering money for information." Anna went pale. "How long before he finds me?" "Not long," Sheriff Martinez admitted. "These guys are good at what they do. But here's the thing. I've been doing some investigating of my own. Your husband has a record, 2 previous arrests for domestic violence with different women. Never convicted because the women were too scared to testify, but it's all documented." "What does that mean?" Anna asked. "It means we can build a case against him, get you a restraining order, maybe even press charges for stalking and harassment, but..." The sheriff paused, looking uncomfortable. "But what?" Tom asked. "But it would be stronger if Anna had some kind of legal protection, something that would make it harder for him to claim any rights over her." Dr. Williams, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting?" The sheriff nodded. "Marriage would change her legal status, give her a different name, different legal protections. It's not uncommon in cases like this." Anna stared at them all in shock. "You're talking about a fake marriage? Like a business arrangement?" Tom cleared his throat. "Actually, I was thinking it could be real." The room went completely silent. Anna looked at Tom like she couldn't quite believe what she had heard. "Tom," Mrs. Rodriguez said gently, "maybe you and Anna should discuss this privately." They walked out to the barn where Tom's horse, Thunder, was quietly eating hay. Anna sat down on a bale of straw, and Tom sat across from her, his hat in his hands. "I know this is crazy," he began. "I know the timing is terrible, and I know you might think I'm just trying to rescue you. But Anna, these past weeks with you, here, they've been the best weeks of my life." Anna was quiet, processing his words. "I'm not asking you to love me back right away," Tom continued. "I'm not even asking you to stay married to me if you decide you want something different later. I'm just asking you to let me protect you the only way I know how." "Tom," Anna said softly, "I care about you. More than I thought I could care about anyone. But I don't want you to marry me just to save me. What if I told you I wanted to marry you because somewhere along the way I fell completely in love with you?" Anna looked up at him, searching his face for any sign of deception or manipulation. But all she saw was honesty and kindness, and a love so pure it took her breath away. "I'm broken," she whispered. "I don't know if I'll ever be the person I was before." "You're not broken," Tom said firmly. "You're healing, and I want to be part of that healing, if you'll let me." Anna thought about the past month. How safe she felt when Tom was around. How he never made her feel weak or stupid or worthless. How he looked at her like she was precious instead of like she was property. "If we do this," she said slowly, It has to be real. I can't pretend anymore. I've spent 3 years pretending everything was fine, and I won't do that again. I don't want pretending either, Tom said. I want a real marriage with someone I love and respect. Someone who makes me want to be a better man. 2 days later, Anna Rodriguez Johnson stood in the courthouse wearing a simple white dress that Mrs. Rodriguez had bought for the occasion. Tom wore his best suit, the one he usually saved for church and funerals. The ceremony was short and simple. Sheriff Martinez served as a witness along with Mrs. Rodriguez and Dr. Williams. Judge Thompson, who had known Tom since he was a boy, performed the ceremony with genuine warmth. Do you, Tom Johnson, take Anna Rodriguez to be your wife, to love and protect and cherish for as long as you both shall live? I do, Tom said, his voice steady and sure. Do you, Anna Rodriguez, take Tom Johnson to be your husband, to love and support and trust for as long as you both shall live? Anna looked into Tom's eyes and saw her future. Not a future of fear and control, but one of partnership and respect and genuine love. I do, she said, and meant it with every fiber of her being. When Tom kissed her after they were pronounced husband and wife, Anna felt something she had never experienced before. She felt like she was exactly where she belonged. But even as they celebrated with cake and coffee in Mrs. Rodriguez's kitchen, Anna couldn't shake the feeling that her old life wasn't quite finished with her yet. That evening, as she and Tom sat on the porch swing as a married couple, she saw headlights coming up the ranch road. Her heart stopped. She knew those headlights. She knew that truck. Her husband had found her.